Okay, so question number 4. Obviously it has some similarities to the last two, but it definitely does have some differences because you have a y both in the numerator and the denominator of your fraction. So we're going to have to use a little bit of a different technique once we get rid of this fraction to solve this. But the first thing we're going to do is multiply by negative 3y minus 5 on both sides, just like we did for the previous two examples, actually the previous 3 examples. So again, the negative 3y minus 5 is going to cancel each other out, and we're going to distribute this x over here on the right hand side. That's going to give us negative 3xy minus 5x equal to negative y minus 4. So now it's just a matter of moving stuff around. Notice that we do have a y on both sides of our equation, so we do need to get those y's to be on the same side. Now you do need to be very careful. We are going to add the y to both sides. Now here's the deal. Even though they both have a y, because this guy also has an x, these are not considered like terms, so they are two different terms. So when we add this y over here, all we're going to do is just place him right after that negative 3xy. So this becomes negative 3xy plus y minus 5x equal to negative 4. So now we want to take this negative 5x, since he doesn't have a y in him, and move him over to the other side. So we are going to add 5x to both sides. So when we do that, we're going to get negative 3xy plus y equal to 5x minus 4. And again, if you put negative 4 plus 5x, that's perfectly fine. I just don't like having a negative in front sometimes. Now, here's where the fun stuff starts. So notice that we have our y's, and they're both on the left-hand side of our equation, but they are in two separate terms. So what we're going to do is factor out the greatest common factor. And really what we're looking at is the fact that both of these terms have that letter y in them. So what we're going to do is we're going to place the y out front. We're going to start our parentheses. And basically what we're asking ourselves is, if I take away this y from this term, just this first one right now, what would be left in that term? And that would be a negative 3x. Plus, just bring down whatever sign is there. And then if I take away this y from the second term, what would be left? And be very careful, because remember, sitting in front of that is the number 1. So there would be a 1 left over, and that would be equal to 5x minus 4. Now, the really cool thing about factoring is that you can always check to see if you got the answer correct by taking the y and distributing him throughout. So y times negative 3x would be negative 3xy, and y times 1 would be 1y. So we know that we have this correct. Remember, you're saying that these two terms have the y in common. That's why he's out here. You're saying this is the variable that they both have, so I'm going to factor him out or take him out, and what would be left over if I took the y away from both of those, that one they have in common. So now what you have to remember is that when you are distributing, this is just multiplication. So if I'm multiplying y times negative 3x plus 1, and I want to solve for y, that means I want to get rid of this whole parentheses. So we're going to divide by negative 3x plus 1 on both sides. Over here on our left, these guys are going to cancel each other out, and you're going to be left with y equal to 5x minus 4 over negative 3x plus 1, and this would be our answer for solving for y. And I know that one can be a little bit confusing, so I went ahead and gave you guys a second example for that one on number 5 here. So again, notice it's the same thing. I've got a y both in the top and the bottom of this fraction, but again, before I do anything else, I want to get rid of this 2y minus 5 on the bottom. So we are going to multiply both top and bottom by 2y minus 5. And as we do that, again, the 2y minus 5's over here on the right will cancel, and I'll need to distribute the x to the 2y minus 5. That's going to give us 2yx minus 5x equals y minus 2. Again, we need our y's to be on the same side, so we are going to take and subtract the y from both sides. Again, remember, I'm just going to place him right behind my 2xy or 2yx. So 2yx minus y minus 5x equals a negative 2. Again, I still want to get my x's by themselves, so I want to move my negative 5x to the other side. So we're going to add 5x to both sides. So we end up with 2yx minus y equals 5x minus 2. And again, if you wrote that the other way, that's perfectly fine if you did negative 2 plus 5x. Now, again, notice that we have our y's on the same side, but our problem is this guy has a y and this guy has a y. So we are going to factor out the y they have in common. So we're going to put a y out front and ask ourselves, if we take a y away from 2yx, we would be left with 2x. And again, bringing our sign minus. And if I take this y away from this term, I would be left with a 1. And that's going to equal to 5x minus 2. Again, this is multiplication right here. So to get rid of that 2x minus 1, I've got to just divide by 2x minus 1 on both sides. These guys are going to go away. So we're going to have y equals 5x minus 2 over 2x minus 1, and this would be our final answer.